We'll explore the chilling case of a young girl who disappeared after going to her Sunday school and was never seen again. Despite extensive efforts from both the police and hundreds of volunteers, Gretchen Harrington's disappearance remained a mystery for 48 years. However, an unexpected twist would eventually reveal the shocking truth behind what happened to her. Gretchen Harrington, born on June 13, 1967 in Pennsylvania, was the youngest of three sisters. Her family moved to the small, close-knit town of Boomo, where her father, a pastor, worked at the local church. Gretchen loved the town and enjoyed spending time outdoors with her sisters and friends. It was a peaceful, safe place where children were free to roam without worry. Raised in a religious family, Gretchen excelled in Sunday school, always getting top grades. On the morning of August 15, 1975, when she was just 8 years old, her family eagerly awaited the return of her mother and newborn sister from the hospital. Gretchen, however, was encouraged by her father to attend Sunday school so she wouldn't miss a class. Though she was reluctant, she agreed, took her Bible, and made her way to church. She usually walked with her older sisters, but they stayed home that day. The church was only a short walk away, less than a mile from her home. That Sunday school lesson was divided into two parts. The children first gathered at Trinity Church and later headed to her father's church. But when the children arrived at the second church around 11:30 a.m., Gretchen wasn't with them. Her father was immediately concerned, thinking she might have stayed at the other church. When he called there, the pastor's wife confirmed that Gretchen wasn't there either. Panic set in, and her father started searching the area, but there was no sign of her. The police were called, and the search began immediately. Hundreds of volunteers joined in the effort, and the police combed through the town, searching the woods, riverbank, and even using a helicopter. But no trace of Gretchen was found. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation stalled. Despite various theories, including Gretchen might have drowned in the river or run away, the most chilling possibility was that she had been abducted. The case remained unsolved, and as the years passed, the community, once peaceful and carefree, became gripped with fear. The disappearance had shaken everyone to their core. Despite numerous tips and leads, including reports of a green station wagon and a white Cadillac being seen near the church that morning, no substantial evidence surfaced. 2 months later, a hiker discovered a body in a national park 20 minutes from Boomo. Though the remains were severely decomposed, forensic experts identified them as Gretchen's using her dental records. Her cause of death was determined to be multiple blows to the head, and the case was reclassified as a homicide. However, DNA analysis didn't exist in 1975, and investigators were left with few leads. For decades, the investigation languished, with only occasional attempts to reopen the case. It wasn't until 2022, when two journalists, Joanna and Mike, decided to write a book about the case, that new attention was brought to the tragedy. Both grew up in Boomo and were the same age as Gretchen at the time. Their research uncovered startling new details. Months after the book's release, a woman came forward with information about the suspect. She revealed that as a child, she'd been molested by David Zanstra, the same pastor who had been involved in Sunday school the day Gretchen vanished. The woman explained that she had stayed at the homes of friends where Zanstra had repeatedly assaulted her. This information led the police to re-examine the case, and new evidence began to surface. They found that Zanstra had provided an accurate description of Gretchen's clothing on the day she disappeared, even though he claimed not to have seen her. They also discovered that the Sunday school had started late that day, which would have given Zanstra enough time to abduct Gretchen and dispose of her body. Further investigation revealed that Zanstra had moved to another state shortly after Gretchen's disappearance. He owned a green station wagon, which matched the description of a vehicle seen near the church the day Gretchen disappeared. In 2023, a chilling breakthrough in a long, cold case rocked the nation. Detectives, following a trail of new evidence, traveled to Georgia, where the suspect, Zanstra, had been living for some time under an assumed identity. When confronted with the mounting evidence linking him to the brutal murder of Gretchen, his response was nothing short of horrifying. Zanstra, with cold, calculated demeanor, admitted to the crime. He confessed that he had abducted Gretchen, subjected her to unspeakable acts of violence, and ultimately murdered her. Afterward, he callously disposed of her body in a nearby park, convinced that he had evaded justice. But after years of evading capture, the law had finally caught up with him. Zahnstra's confession sent shockwaves through the small community in Pennsylvania where the crime occurred, and his arrest became the beginning of a dark unraveling. Following his extradition back to Pennsylvania, investigators were determined to learn the full extent of Zahnstra's involvement in criminal activity. They soon discovered that this case was not an isolated incident. Zahnstra's background was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. As investigators dug deeper into his history, a web of deception and predatory behavior began to emerge. As it suggested that Zahnstra had been hiding in plain sight for decades, using his position of trust and authority to prey on vulnerable victims, the full scope of his crimes began to unravel, but questions remained. Was this the work of a lone, calculating predator, or had he been part of a far larger hidden network of abuse? Investigators were now combing through unsolved cases across the country, hoping to connect the dots and bring closure to grieving families who had long been searching for answers. The trial for Gretchen's murder is still pending, and the stakes could not be higher. With Zahnstra's defense team likely to challenge the prosecution's case in every possible way, legal experts believe that the road to a conviction may be long and difficult. They may attempt to undermine the credibility of key evidence, or even argue for a reduced sentence, given his apparent confession. The case has reignited fears about the safety of children and the betrayal of trust by those who are supposed to protect them. Local residents, who once looked up to Zahnstra as a pillar of the church, now find themselves grappling with the grim reality of his actions. Parents are speaking out, urging lawmakers to push for stronger measures to protect children from predators who may hide behind respectable facades. The case has also sparked a broader conversation about the importance of holding trusted figures accountable and ensuring that such horrors do not go unnoticed. Zahnstra's twisted past continues to unravel, with each new revelation making his actions harder to fathom. The investigation into his potential victims is ongoing, and more shocking details are expected to emerge. The trial promises to be a tough journey for the victims' families and the communities that trusted him. How many lives has Zahnstra truly destroyed? Will justice be served? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think will happen next? And how should the legal system handle those who abuse their power for evil? Stay tuned for more updates and in-depth analysis. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay informed as we uncover more of this dark mystery. Thank you for watching.